Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. We got a full show. We got the draft on Thursday. Mike Kaye, Charlotte Observer, is going to drop by. John Forslund, our old friend, get his thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes after game one, this series against the Devils, and also going to the Wayback Machine, Joe.
That's a winner.
I know, this program from 1999, their first Stanley Cup Playoffs appearance in Greensboro. A young pup, John Forslund, in there. This thing cracks me up on so many levels. Like, there's so many dead companies in here now. Like, would you be interested in Altel?
Ooh.
Remember Altel? There was another one that cracked me up too about this. I think Sprint's no longer with us, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think Sprint got consumed. Look,
they got
Stormy's looking not as kid friendly, a little frightening there.
A little fuzzy.
They updated
he did
him.
Almost die in the Zamboni.
Well, there is that. So. There is that. We got Interpath. Remember Interpath? I think I had Interpath. I tried to get a job at Interpath.
I don't even know what that is.
They were this was like a telecommunications company back in the day. Consulting services, information services, network services, support services. So information services. So before I decided, you know what, maybe I should give this radio thing a try. And I was in the College of Management. I was doing management information systems. And I tried to get a job with Interpath that went nowhere because I had like zero experience and my grades sucked. So I decided, let's try this radio thing instead.
Perfect.
No longer there. But
yeah, like, let me give you those updates in the back of the press box and be really loud.
I know. You'll never forget those situations. Now you're working with me and I'm doing dumb graphics like this. Two Joes, one cup. Coverage continues tonight, game 2 between the New Jersey Devils and the Carolina Hurricanes. One other quick hockey note. I think you, me, and Luke were all in agreement that Washington might lose a little steam after the whole Alexander Ovechkin thing.
Yeah.
And Montreal looked like they came back and they just shook Washington. They go to overtime. I'm thinking, man, Montreal's going to take this one. Game 1 in Washington. Montreal's going to steal this thing. And then I forgot, oh, yeah, Alexander Ovechkin is still freaking good. Whoops.
Well, it's like the regular season felt like Washington trying to prove to you, no, really, we're more than just Ovi and his goal chase. And then, of course, he scores a power play goal and he scores again.
And then he gets the winner. So that's where we're at. Yesterday also felt a little bit like a transaction day in college sports. Cooper Flagg's going pro. Are you surprised?
What?
I know. It's surprising.
No.
So you know how they space these things out. So like last week, Con Knipple announces that he is going. And then we find out Tyrese Proctor, he's going. And then yesterday around 12:30, after I hit publish on the podcast, Cooper Flagg is going pro. Shocker. He's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. So this gets into the, all right, what's different? What am I going to try to find interesting here? Because what really can you say about Cooper Flagg at this point? It's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He had a good season at Duke. We'll see where it rates over time.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a trend. Remember, the brotherhood was the thing for the longest time, and they still on the graphic.
I still see it. Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, I've got the Duke basketball official account on Twitter with their official graphic because everything's about graphics in 2025 with the Utes.
Yes.
It still has the brotherhood, but I'm noticing a change in sloganeering in that league next, Duke forever. I almost feel like that's a play on Tar Heel for life.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
So now we get, because remember, Carolina fans are mad at Duke because the brotherhood is way too close to the whole family thing. How are you in the brotherhood if you've only been like there for a year? But now they're kind of switching it up a little bit with league next, Duke forever. As these things get spaced out, have we seen from Malwatch yet? He's going to go pro. I haven't seen that official announcement yet, right?
Of course he's going pro.
Of course he's going pro. Here's John Shire. Almost called him John Forslund. Here's John Shire talking about Cooper Flagg.
Really proud of Cooper for the special season that he had this year. You know, I think the accolades speak for itself with what he did, you know, winning every National Player of the Year award. His highlights, his statistics, the ways he impacted the game on both ends of the floor, really in every category, was off the charts. As good of a freshman season that the guys had here. But to me, the separator and the joy of coaching Cooper is the person he was every day, the teammate that he was, never about statistics or anything other than creating an environment and helping his team to win. And we won a lot of games and had a lot of success. And a lot of times that environment is created from your best player. And Cooper did an incredible job in every facet of our program, on and off the court, with what he's done.
So that was John Shire. Of course, if you look at the Duke comments, or you look at the comments under the Duke post, you get a lot of, oh yeah, he did all these things, except missed the biggest shot of the game in the Final Four. Clutch gene, Joe. Clutch gene. So,
yeah, but Joe, there's got to be a galaxy take that we're missing on Cooper Flagg.
It's funny you mentioned that. As I've pointed out,
because we don't have any new ideas. We're not very good at this. So we got to figure out, like, what's the real big story that we're missing?
So, like I said, I am not spending as much time on the microblogging services these days.
Okay.
Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, etc. Right? It's just go outside and touch grass kind of stuff. Sure. But I do log in because for work, and there's stuff that you'll find that you need for the show and everything else. So this gets pushed into my algorithm. And because he's got a blue check, I'm assuming the guy's paying for the blue check. Some guy named Brandon Harris. Brandon, founded Playmaker, acquired in 2023, created 5 award-winning athlete podcasts, breaking down trending sports and business stories with no filter or agenda.
Ooh.
Oh, man, we should put that in our slogan. Brandon says this 18-year-old just walked away from $4.8 million.
All caps.
You know what? Got me on the hook. Who is this 18-year-old who just walked away, quote unquote, walked away from $4.8 million? I scroll. Oh, it's Cooper Flagg. That's not a normal 18-year-old. Cooper Flagg is leaving Duke for the bright lights of the NBA, but this decision raises questions about NIL. Is it working? Question mark. Has anybody asked that question? That's like a classic. People are saying, no.
Who are these people?
You are saying. I got to imagine in your beat writing days when somebody would pose the question, some people are saying, no. Why don't you say it with your chest? Because that's a cop-out. People are saying. But this decision raises questions about NIL. What are the questions? Is it working? Yes, it's working. Here's why the crazy money on why the crazy money on offer still isn't enough to compete with the big leagues. Okay, I see what this guy's doing. I see what the guy's doing.
I don't.
So this is what he's picking the wrong person.
Okay.
That's the problem. He's picking the number 1 pick in the draft to make this argument.
Right.
And it's something that's been floating around. And I'm wondering if we haven't already seen it. And this guy's just not really paying attention as a unfiltered business insider guy. For some players like an Armando Bacot with NIL, you are going to make more money at Carolina than you are toiling trying to get with an NBA team.
Oh, yeah. RJ Davis.
RJ Davis is another example of this. I'm trying to think of a Duke guy that would make the most amount of sense. But Cooper Flagg is not that example. If you're the number 1 pick in the draft, yeah, you're going to go get number 1 pick money. There's nothing that Duke or NIL Nike could offer. Rachel Baker cannot cook up an offer at Duke to say, hey, Cooper,
yeah, the number
come
1
back for your sophomore year. That's not the point. And if anything, it's a dereliction of duty as a coach and as a program to tell the overall number 1 pick, why don't you come back for half the money? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, just contract-wise, straight contract-wise, you're talking about $12 million a year as a number 1 overall pick.
Yes.
But the real money is your second contract.
Yes.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is in line for a supermax deal, 4 years, $293 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's checks notes. $73 million per year. Like, this is what the trajectory he's on. You want to get to that second supermax contract.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's start the clock. Also with the transactions, Ian Jackson, you want to collect your winnings, Joe?
Oh, I mean, that wasn't even on the board.
I
Man.
know.
Come on.
I know. Ian Jackson, transfer portal. He ended up at St. John's, but there's a little bit of a twist. Rick Pitino putting this out on Twitter. We had big shoes to fill at point. Kadari and Davion were awesome. The ball is now in the hands of our next great point. Let's go, Ian. Oh, okay. We're going to put Ian Jackson at point guard. Point is in the name, and Ian Jackson, we know, can get points.
Yeah.
He can get points, Joe. It's the old Russell Westbrook. you call me the point guard, right? I'm going to get you the points. Now, what do we know about Rick Pitino? It ain't just about the points. It's about the defense. And I know people have been screaming, good luck on the defensive end when it comes to Ian Jackson. But I think, and this gets back to a larger point that I've been trying to make about Ian Jackson and guard play, he's going to be put in that role. Do we think that Rick Pitino is just taking a flyer on a guy if he doesn't believe he can get him to play the way that he wants, to get him to develop his game as a point guard? Or maybe they take a look and they get a backup in a situation like a safety release of like, you know what, maybe this Ian Jackson thing is not going to work out at the one, but we got somebody else in the portal. I was listening to Field of 68 on the drive in, and the point that they make is, and one that I agree with, we talk about the portal in basketball, or in football, and QBs are getting a ton of money. When you look at the point guard situation, you look at the pool that's available to you, there's not a lot, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So it looks like with St. John's, they're taking a flyer with Ian Jackson, and they got a talented starting five, don't get me wrong, and I get the defensive concerns, but I don't think Rick Pitino's doing this unless he believes that he can mold Ian Jackson into being the point guard.
We're so ingrained here to think point guard, to think of that true one pass first kind of guy that Carolina's had forever and ever and ever. Rick Pitino won the national title with Louisville in 2013 with Russ Smith and Peyton Siva, both of which were guys who just, you screen for them, they went to the basket.
Yeah.
They were lead guards. Ian Jackson can be a lead guard in that sense. So I wouldn't get too caught up in the naming there. It's more of the guy who's going to be the lead guard, who's going to be the bus driver, which I would have argued Ian Jackson should have been Carolina's bus driver this year.
Tell us who drives the bus. Tell us who drives the bus.
It really has been what that's all about. All right. Meanwhile, speaking of Carolina, this is from Adam Smith over at Inside Carolina. UNC's Ven-Allen Lubin entering transfer portal leaves open option to return. He put this out on social media. Quote, before anybody jumps to the wrong conclusion, I'm letting everybody know that I'm entering the transfer portal with the full intent on returning to UNC. My action relates to the complexities surrounding the possible approval of the pending NCAA settlement. Of course, one thing that I would ask is there any guarantee that Carolina, knowing that you're entering the portal to see what your market is, which I'm cool, get it, understand it, that Carolina goes, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll use your money for somebody else at this situation. It's a risky move for Ven-Allen Lubin, and I'm kind of curious the intricacies of how he got here.
I didn't love Ven-Allen Lubin's entire body of work, but I did think by the end of the season he was a good player for them. He was a useful part for them. Maybe him having to do less would be more helpful for them.
Yeah,
in particular, and obviously they have some guys that they're bringing in that would change his role. I think he's probably looking at that as well. But, you know, I remember one of the last conversations I had with Kevin Keats is we were talking about how, you know, the sense of what commitment works, how commitment works. And also now, like if your son was really good at college basketball, college football, college baseball, he goes, every year you have to go back to the negotiating table.
Yeah.
He goes, you and I wouldn't do that. He goes, but you would do that for your kid because they don't know any better either. Right. But he's like, that's the only way to really get your true value. So probably two things. If you're Ven-Allen Lubin, you're looking at the players who they're bringing in. How does my role change? Right. Yes. And also he's correct. You have to look at what your value is and how you maximize that, because to the beginning of this conversation, you know, Ven-Allen Lubin probably doesn't have a professional career in front of him. So maybe if he could make even $750 this year, it's pretty good money, buddy.
It is.
Right.
It is. I'm not going to fault anybody. Just an interesting choice. I just don't know if Ven-Allen Lubin has the leverage that he might think he has to come back to Carolina. It's interesting that he says, hey, look, I could be coming back to Carolina.
Right.
Maybe. And I guess
don't forget they added the Arizona guy too. So he's looking at he's looking at playing a role that probably does suit him as a third big, because you have the freshman big coming in, then you have the kid from Arizona.
Yep.
You're a third guy now. Nothing wrong with being the third guy, especially at Carolina. They won a lot of national championships with players like Ven-Allen Lubin being the third big.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's not a bad position to be in, but it's also one where you have to look at it and go realistically. You know, he came from Vanderbilt. You go back and look at the SEC and say, would somebody pay me and play me 26, 27 minutes a night?
Even more, right?
You know what I mean? Like you have to
Look,
consider all those options.
We just saw a guy, one of the guards from Florida.
Yeah.
Moved to Kentucky. I mean, they just won a national championship. And
what else do we need?
I'm good. I accomplished what I needed to accomplish. Big shouts to Keller Williams Commercial. Every time we talk about the ACC, it's brought to you by our friends at Keller Williams Commercial. Check them out. The Donnelly team, Brian and Julie, are going to help with a very, very specific need. Commercial real estate, warehouse space. Maybe you've got an OG hat vault and you got to store all these hats before you dole them out. I mean, that's something that we would look into. You're looking for a retail space. Who knows? Maybe we open up OG the store.
Maybe you already have a spot and you need a bigger spot.
That's entirely possible too.
Pretty simple.
So check them out online at trianglencommercial.com or call them directly at 919-616-8681. One other transactional note, to switch from basketball to football. Clemson and NC State did it first. A trade.
Yes.
A trade. It was Ben Middlebrooks for who went to Clemson?
Jack Clark.
Jack Clark. Thank you. Well, we got it in football now. Nico Iamaleava.
Look at you.
Nailed it.
Doing homework.
He ends up at UCLA.
Right?
You know who was at UCLA?
I honestly, until yesterday, I did not realize that our guy from App State,
Joey Aguilar,
had headed back out to Cali.
He was at UCLA. Well, Tennessee needs QB. Needs another guy in the QB room. Well, this guy just left. Guess who's now at Tennessee?
I love this for Tennessee. I'm being serious.
Okay.
You know, I was very high on Joey Aguilar after his first year at App State.
I know.
Obviously, last year didn't work out the way that they wanted it to work out. That wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
This is a great move for him. Obviously, he's familiar with this part of the country. Josh Heupel's a really, really good coach. And I think you're going to see, I'm not going to predict a Cam Ward-like explosion, but I think you're going to, this time next year, you're going to hear a lot of people talking about, now, this Joey Aguilar guy, he's pretty good. He's a pro prospect.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it green clean with Enovana.
OG Birthday Bash is a week from Thursday. Not this Thursday, next Thursday, May 1st.
Ooh.
We're going to be out at Shady's in Garner. We have still working on that food truck. Fingers crossed.
We're closing in on food.
Closing
Let's
in
put it
on
that
food,
way.
but we got plenty of stuff that we are raffling off.
My internet's not working right now.
Oh, what do you need to find?
I'm just going to pull up the floor mat because I forgot that we still had one of those.
Hold on a second. You're looking for your tweet?
Yeah, the
Is that what it
accomplished
is?
greatness.
Okay, hold on a second. We can.
This is not the one that's in front of our studio. We have a clean new one that was literally given to us by Jim Phillip.
He told us to take it. So
completely
yeah,
authorized.
if you're watching on YouTube, here's an ACC Accomplished Greatness doormat.
That's in the raffle. Yes.
The conference is not a doormat.
No.
This is just a doormat.
The doormat is the doormat, though.
Exactly.
And it is spectacular.
It's fantastic.
I forgot I had that in the back of the other car.
So we've got that we're going to raffle off. We've got a Stadium Series downtown banner.
Yep. I think some people might have been confused. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? What is it? And I'm like, no, dude, Color Graphic actually does the banners that you see on the lamppost downtown and at the arena.
Look, this
is one of them.
All I'm saying, this would look super sweet with all your other Carolina Hurricane stuff in the man cave.
Correct.
Or the she shed.
Correct.
Or in your garage. It doesn't matter.
Anywhere.
That banner, which was up in downtown Raleigh for the Stadium Series, can be yours with the raffle tickets. We also have a Roslovic,
the real
puck,
96.
The real 96. We also have bourbon as well. So we got
that moose, the Canadian version
the
of
Caribou
the
Crossing. That's what
Yeah.
it was. Thank you. Kentucky Owl, the Buffalo Trace. We got some other goodies as well. We'll probably have some Weller in there. So for the Birthday Bash raffle, Venmo Giglio Joe at
Yes.
Giglio Joe. You don't have to be present for this.
You do not. Now, with the liquor, you're probably going to want to be near me that I can get it to you because
Mhm.
obviously I can't mail that to you, but just
Mhm.
keep that in mind. The rest of the stuff we'll figure out a way to get to you. If you're out of state, we can ship it to you, but you might need to bring that back up just so I know how many tickets I decided on the price.
Hold on a second. Let me pull it back.
So it's 10 tickets for $25.
Let me pull this back up. $25 gets you 10 tickets. $50 gets you 25 tickets. $100 gets you 50.
Okay, so note there, I went full movie theater popcorn, but I also gave you away in the door with 10 tickets for 25.
There you go.
All right.
So Venmo Joe on that one. And it's all thanks to our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. We're going to be at Shady's in Garner on May 1st for the Birthday Bash. It does not happen without corporate champions like Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. We also can't do this with our friends without our friends like Breeze Through. Check them out. breezethrough.com. We got a hockey game tonight. You're looking, it's a 6 o'clock game.
6 o'clock. I'm headed over there early tonight.
Same. So maybe you want to head early. I know from 1 to 3, they're going to be doing discounted parking. You don't have to worry about that at Breeze Through. You can just park at Breeze Through.
Yep.
And then get yourself some tailgate stuff as well. So big thanks to our friends at Breeze Through. Great car wash as well. We are peak car wash season right now.
We really are.
They got a laser wash that gets the job done. And of course, our friends at Miller Lending. Maybe you are saving up for all these playoff tickets. You're expecting a deep run for the Carolina Hurricanes.
And you're like, refi for the tickets.
Damn, how am I going to pay for all these tickets? Well, you might have to refinance. And that's where Miller Lending comes into play. No costs. This is not like parking.
Responsible of us.
It's very responsible of us. Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. So what you do is you contact Miller Lending, millerlending.com/theog. That's our special landing page. Start that process. Take that thing to close. They got a Raleigh Wine Shop gift basket for you as well. Or you can call Miller Lending directly at 919-447-3377. In all seriousness, no closing costs is consumer friendly. No closing costs is looking out for you, the homeowner, to use that asset, the biggest asset in your portfolio, to your advantage. Because when you pay closing costs, it's going to take you a while to break even on that bad boy. And you're going to refinance one way or the other before that actually happens, whether through debt consolidation, paying for playoff tickets, or, hey, man, you want to do a home remodel to put all that cool OG stuff you just bought. So contact millerlending.com/theog or 919-447-3377. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from the Charlotte Observer, he covers the Carolina Panthers because somebody has to. He is Mike Kaye. Mike, what's going on, man?
Well, I was trying to time this up while you had your intro in, but people can see that I just took out my wallet and keys. So I'm really getting relaxed. I'm trying to get situated as we speak right now, because I'm sure this will be a very relaxing conversation between the three of us.
I mean, we talked to you while you were at the Combine. And I feel like as it relates to the Carolina Panthers specifically, not a lot has changed in just over a month since the Combine. Is that a correct assessment?
I think it's fair.
Okay.
Well, obviously there was free agency, but I think from the perspective of the draft, not much has changed. I think that's a fair point.
So they're sitting there at 8. Has there been any sort of, is it the nature of the draft that the Panthers can't even really make any moves at 8 right now? Because I'll just be blunt. The draft kind of sucks right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think this kind of is a draft where it feels like after the first 5 non-QBs, everybody has a comparable ranking. So you could go from 7 to 25 and probably have common parts, so to speak. And then from 26 to 75, a lot of guys have similar ratings. So I think from the standpoint of some people have called this a starter draft, I think there's enough talent there where you can infuse starters. I think there's a lot of good, not great talent in this draft. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of the polarizing thing. I think whoever you take at 8 most likely will have their lumps and reason to not be that's a slam dunk. And so I think the conversation becomes, well, then can you trade back and add an asset to an asset to make it more desirable? And so I think there are a lot of teams that would love to get out of that top 10.
Let me rephrase it. I think saying the draft sucks is too harsh. To your point, a starter's draft. It's not a sexy draft. There's no.
I would say it sucks to cover.
Okay, and I guess the reason why you would say it sucks to cover is because, to your point, there's just a lot of good value in this draft. There's nothing that is bringing sizzle. It's almost like you're being responsible and going to the grocery store that doesn't play Krongbin on the loudspeakers, and you're buying in bulk at this point. So I think when it comes to the Panthers too, and how we talk about the Panthers, they clearly don't seem married to anybody, which is why they're willing to move back if the opportunity presents itself, right?
Yeah, and I think the conversation, obviously they've been linked to Jalen Walker, an analogy that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I think that's lacking context. Okay. I think Jalen Walker is a great prospect. I do think he's a blue chip player for the right team. There's blue chip guys, and then there's blue chip guys that need to land in the right spot. That's what the second part is, what Jalen Walker is. I think he's a really good player. You better have a plan. This team has kind of sold length and size and production, and I don't see where Jalen Walker explicitly fits in there, especially from an edge rusher standpoint. It's cool he's from Salisbury, so, sell that local, angle. But I think it's a weird situation, a weird fit for him. And I know I kind of just hijacked your question, but I think
you're reading my mind over here.
I mean, this happens every time.
Giglio's nodding along over here.
Beautiful.
Well, I think what the issue is here is you've got a defensive coordinator who's coming off literally the worst scoring defensive performance in NFL history, the worst rushing defense performance since 1980. You're then going to ask him to take a kid who's a hybrid player who you're going to probably have to build the scheme around. By the way, in 3 years as a defensive coordinator here and in Denver, Evero has never rushed to start a rookie player. Nick Benito, who was a second-round pick in Denver, played 35% of the snaps and was inactive his first 2 games. They had a nickel corner there. The name escapes me. Damari Mathis, I think, is the name. He only played when Ronald Darby tore his ACL in week 5 of his rookie season. DJ Johnson didn't play until literally no one else was there his rookie season. Shaw Smith-Wade didn't play until Dane Jackson was missing Patrick Mahomes like he was a ghost in the open field. Trevin Wallace didn't play until Shaq Thompson got injured. So now you're asking a guy who isn't in a rush to start rookies to build his defense partially around this kid who is both undersized and doesn't have very long arms. And that is what they've sold us on with this position typically. I mean, you look at DJ Wanham, you look at Patrick Jones, you look at all these guys, and I'm kind of just like, well, then how does this make sense? And so I think people have kind of gotten it into their mind, well, he fits the Vic Fangio system without taking in the context of what's happened the last few years. And to me, if you're putting a guy on the spot where he has to win right now, I don't think a hybrid player is really your best option, is what I would say. And so I think the discourse, while I think Jalen Walker is in play, I don't think he's necessarily a slam dunk. And I don't think they love anyone in particular who you think would land at number 8.
Which on your career, Mike, where was Philadelphia? When did you cover the Eagles?
So before I was a beat writer, I covered them from 2012 to 2014. And then as a beat writer, I covered them from 2018 to 2022. And
you came directly from Philly?
I did some national coverage during the 22 off season, and then I came here.
Because let me just tell you what's happening here. Who just won the Super Bowl?
The Eagles.
They have how many starters on their defense from the University of Georgia?
They have Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter.
It's like 4 or 5, right? At least.
Toby Dean, Nolan Smith. But if you want to talk about those fellas, they all took a year to basically be like, whatever, and then boom. Same thing with Trayvon Walker. Same with Wyatt and with the Packers. Keely Ringo's still trying to figure it out.
I think that's what the Panthers, I think that's the trap they're falling into.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
The people who cover the draft, not you, but the people who cover the draft too are like, well, all you got to do is just draft somebody from Georgia's defense. I know literally nothing about Jalen Walker other than he plays at the University of Georgia, and I'm looking at our friend Jonathan Jones's mock draft. And I find it interesting that they list him as 6'1", which I'm guessing is his combine number.
Yeah, he's 6'1", 243.
That's not a prototype.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't be a really good player. It just means you're not a prototype. I scroll down, and here's a guy. I love it when I bring up stories of the one time I see somebody in person. But tell me James Pierce is not more of fits the mold of a classic edge from Tennessee.
He's thinner.
Okay.
I don't think he's particularly good against the run. If I was an offensive coordinator, I would run at him every chance I got. And that really goes against the Evero principles. They want guys who can stop the run. Walker's got a really good knack for hunting down the ball and doing all that stuff. I just don't know if he's going to be productive enough from a pressure or sack standpoint, that it would justify it. And like you said, there's only one Elmas Doomerville. Like there's John Randall. I mean, like there are very limited cases where you could say a guy who is sub 6'2", which I know that seems asinine because it's 1 inch. But the thing is he's also got 32-inch arms. Like typically you want guys to have like 33, 34-inch arms. And that in a game of inches, that literally does make a difference. We've seen that historically. So, I mean, it's very interesting. Like Dan Morgan straight up came out and said that he views him as an outside linebacker. I think that was logical and smart because positional value wise, taking a tweener at 10 and planning to use him as a hybrid player would not be the value there. Nobody drafted Andrew Van Ginkel in the 5th round to be a hybrid player. They did it because they had to make up for his inadequacies elsewhere. Same can be said for Zach Bond in the 3rd round. Oh, by the way, Frankie Luvu, the guy that everybody wants to compare this guy to, was not really well used here. He was just basically used as an inside linebacker. Yeah, they put him at edge sometimes, but really he was just not well used, and he played better in Washington because Dan Quinn is a genius when it comes to hybrid players. He always has been, dating back to the Gators, dating back to Seattle. That's a fact. So I find it kind of weird that somebody would be like, yeah, get a carbon copy of him. Oh, by the way, he was undrafted, played for the Jets as an edge rusher for 3 years, then got to Carolina. Then they started to kind of use him as a hybrid player once Hassan Reddick left. So, like, again, you're not spending high value on guys you already perceive as hybrid players because that just means there's a fault in their logical position, right? Like, if he was like a true inside linebacker where you felt like you could play him all 3 downs, nobody would be talking about him as an edge rusher.
Their defense needs help. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, getting Derek Brown back will help them, assuming he can stay healthy, assuming our guy J.C. Horn can stay healthy too. Would it shock you though if they went another way, if they took the receiver from Arizona potentially? Would that shock you?
It wouldn't shock me. I think Ted McMillan's a really interesting player. I don't think he's the best fit at wide receiver for them, mainly because this is the slowest offense I've ever covered in my career. And he is known as a jump ball guy.
Yeah.
And when you put it out there that you want to run the ball as much as possible, if I'm a defensive coordinator, I go, I'm going to stack the box. Fine, let Ted McMillan play one-on-one with my corner. Cool, he'll grab jump balls here and there, but like I don't have to worry about yak. I don't have to worry about like a 18-yard catch turning into a 47-yard catch. I don't know why I came up with both of those numbers, but whatever. I think Matthew Golden from Texas, who kind of reminds me of Brandon Cooks, is kind of more of their speed. But I get it. Like, I mean, here's the thing, though. Like, you drafted Xavier Legette. He's already a jump ball guy. And so when you have 2 guys who are, like, substandard NFL speed for having to – like, Jamar Chase has great speed. He's got – I mean, he and T. Higgins actually complement each other. I just, like – I don't know, man. I think they do need to make a move at wide receiver. I just think speed should be the kind of the thing they cling to.
All right. Since we brought up offense,
Sure.
and making sure that there's a carryover momentum of what we saw from Bryce Young at the end of the season, the last third of the season that carries over into this upcoming season. Now that we've had some time to kind of sit with some of the free agency moves and what their potential needs are in the draft, where do things stand offensively for Bryce Young? What does it look like for him right now compared to last year?
Well, basically the same, only you're switching out Miles Sanders for Rico Dowdle. But I think they will definitely look into tight end in this class. They're looking for running back help. I could see them looking into offensive line help as well. But I think wide receiver is a position they'll handle at some point in the draft. I think it's really nice to say you like your starting wide receiver group and think Xavier Legette can become a surefire number 1 wide receiver. But I've also told my wife that I don't mind doing the dishes while baseball's on. So, like, I think, I mean, look, you want to take people at their word and trust their word, and words matter. But I also think, like, this is the game within the game. And if you really want a wide receiver, you don't want anybody thinking you want a wide receiver. Like, if I was a GM and I didn't want Jalen Walker, I would absolutely love that the entire country thinks that I'm taking Jalen Walker, because cool, let them, figure let them focus over here. Check out the bumblebee over there. Well, cool. I'm going to take this other guy. So, but I do think they will address. I think this is going to be comparable to last year, only in reverse. So, like last year, they went offense, defense, offense, defense. I think it'll be comparable where it'll be like defense, offense. Offense or defense, offense. You know what I mean? They have 9 picks this year, so it's a little different. But I do think that they'll come away with 3 or 4 offensive players.
As someone who likes to follow the rest of the NFL, what do you think happens with Shedeur?
I think he'll be a Cleveland Brown, but I don't think he'll be a Cleveland Brown at number 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is trending in the direction that he's going to be in the green room for a hot minute.
No, he's not going.
He's not going.
He's not going.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I think what ends up happening is the Browns trade from their second spot in the second round and trade into the top 25 and draft them. They have a history of doing that. That's how Johnny Manziel was drafted. Not that you really want to repeat that history, but I think when you have a draft where everybody's looking at this, it's like once you get past 25, everybody's comparably rated until probably the start of the third round. I think that's where you kind of jump and maybe you can find the value there. Like if you told me, like for instance, like last year, the Panthers swapped day 3 picks to get up 1 spot. If you told me that all I had to do was trade a 4th round pick and maybe a 6th round pick to draft a guy who I believe could, while he might take some time, could eventually be my franchise quarterback, I would do that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that that's digestible. I think that's palatable. And I think, Andrew Berry, who's very analytically driven, that makes sense. I do not think he will be I could see it to where like Hunter and Shedeur are both the Cleveland Browns. I mean, you could retire their jerseys already.
Just put Deion's kid in the ring like they should at Colorado. We asked Brooke Pryor from ESPN about this yesterday and get your general thoughts on when you talk to your NFL writer friends and kind of get a read. Are NFL teams going to learn their lessons and not reach for any of these guys? I mean, because I'm looking at the quarterback class and I'm just thinking reach after reach at this point. But the NFL is set up financially that if you do reach on a Cam Ward, if you do take a flyer on Shedeur Sanders, it's not going to financially break you and you just move on to the next one. Their development be damned. So it's this weird balancing act when it comes to these quarterbacks because nobody's enamored with these quarterbacks, but they feel like they have to take these quarterbacks.
NFL Network just did this whole segment on their morning show where they were like, is it okay to talk about Cam Ward? Because nobody's talking about him. He's going to be the first overall pick.
Yeah.
So in one aspect, I'd say most of the players in this draft, in this first round, feel like reaches anyway.
Sure.
You might as well go for a quarterback. Like coaches and executives will tell you the premium positions are that you want to have cost controlled are quarterback, wide receiver, offensive tackle, defensive end, defensive tackle, and quarterback. Those are the 3 because that's where it pays. I think I saw a thing that if Genty gets taken in the top 6, he'll be the 6th highest paid running back, right? So that's not a cost controlled, smart allocation of resources necessarily. Then again, you hope he becomes a Hall of Fame level running back, right? Like some people are saying, which I think's kind of a little ahead of the game. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is very comparable to the EJ Manuel draft where like Manuel, I think he fell to 15 and then Geno was taken in the second round and stuff like that. Like I don't think this is a quarterback draft where I'd be wanting for a quarterback, if that makes sense. Like that would be one. A lot of these quarterbacks, it's like, cool, let another GM get fired. That's how I kind of feel about Shamar Stewart. That's how I feel about some of these like workout warriors. I'm actually, my favorite player in the draft is getting projected anywhere from like 10 to 25.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Boston College pass rusher Donovan Izaraku. I always pronounce that wrong on the first try, but He had 30 sacks in college. By the way, his first 3 years in college, he had 13 and a half sacks. That's 9 sacks more than Shamar Stewart had in his entire career at Texas A&M. Oh, and by the way, he's 21. Shamar Stewart's 20. Everybody's making a huge deal out of that 1 year difference. What was the question again? No.
We go on draft tangents. It's fine.
Everybody outside of Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, to me, has their lumps. You could make an argument as to why that's not a slam dunk on pretty much any player in this draft. And when that's the case, you want to trade back, because then when you can add another asset to an asset, it's optimal.
I guess we can wrap it on this and just the general malaise of this draft to get to your point about the NFL Network. I think that's how we got on this tangent. And like, is it okay to talk about Cam Ward? I will admit that I find it interesting that I had the draft news cadence nailed for a decade. It was going to be, we got this quarterback week, and then we obsess over this quarterback for another week. We just prop up, who's the next guy?
You know who's moving up?
Right.
Will Levis.
I think it really broke me when, what was it? Ryan Nassib out of Syracuse.
Oh, right? my guy, Ryan Nassib.
Remember Ryan Nassib week on NFL draft coverage? Where like, hey, don't sleep on this guy. So we would do this. It was a cadence. It was fun. I got it. We have not done any of that. And I'm actually surprised too that we haven't. But. No. In general, trust me, I consume more national stuff than you do.
Yeah, I know. But
right. And
you poor thing.
I'm fascinated by it.
I got one for you.
We haven't even done the Shedeur Sanders. Where does he land? Does that open the door for Dion? Like, if you're a team, right? Like, you want to galaxy brain this. If you're a team, are you worried about drafting Shedeur Sanders because all it means is that the national coverage will be, well, when's Dion going to take your job? We haven't even gotten to that, I don't think. At least maybe I've missed it, but we haven't even gotten to that galaxy brain when it comes to the draft. We've been more concerned with, is Aaron Rodgers going to surprise somebody with a reveal of where he's going by draft day?
Well, I think one with Dion, I think him going to the NFL would be antithetical to what he wants to do, which is control everything. True. And so I think that's why you've also seen Bill Belichick go to UNC, because that's a better fit when you can lord over everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I think that's interesting. I mean, I do.
I got your galaxy brain take.
What you got?
Because it's going to be Penn State's going to feel good about their draft. I think both of those guys go in the first 10 picks. And then all of a sudden, I think there's going to be two difference makers in the first round. I think Warren's one of them. I think Carter's the other.
Okay.
And I think next year they're going to be really good. And people are going to be like, "No, wait a second. What the fuck was Penn State doing last year with these two guys?
What are you doing, dude? Come on, man."
I really like Warren. Like when I asked you about the Arizona receiver, it makes perfect sense what your answer was for the Panthers. Man, I'd be ecstatic to take Warren at 8. I would be, but they have other needs. I get that, but to me, this all comes down to who are difference makers. You mentioned Frankie Louvu, right? Like, how many difference makers do the Panthers actually have on their defense? One. I mean,
Derek Brown, J.C. Horn.
Right? Yeah, they have to be on the field.
They got to be on the field,
right?
And so it's kind of like that's where it comes down to me. And to your first point about like, there's probably guys number 1, 2 through whatever feel like they're pretty similar in how they fit, who's going to be their coach, the system that they're in are going to determine their success. But it does feel like we're headed towards this in a few months of a Penn State, like they're going to be all happy. Because you know how Penn State loves to celebrate on the socials.
Oh, yeah.
Every
Super Bowl.
We're going to get that. It just feels like we're going to get to the season and they're both going to be really good. We're like, no, wait a second.
Wait a minute.
I mean, I think we do that with I could talk about James Franklin for like 3 hours. And I don't know. It would be
our guy.
I don't know that it would be the most complimentary conversation. Anyway, I don't think the Panthers are going to have the opportunity to draft Tyler Warren.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you.
I think he will have to learn the Jersey Turnpike pretty soon.
Okay.
And look, I mean, I think teams look at positional value differently. I would be very surprised with the amount of analytical minds in that building if they went for a non-premium position like safety or tight end. And that's a shame because those are my two favorite positions. But, and I'm with you completely on Warren. I think if this was any other team setup, I would Warren would be the pick.
Well, you and Belichick would get along famously then, safety and tight end.
Although
that's how he won a bunch of Super Bowls.
I don't
with a Hall of Fame quarterback, of course.
I don't see Mike enjoying a strawberry lobster though.
Yeah, we got to get that. We got to get.
Yeah, you're making a face. I believe Kyle Bailey at WFNZ. I was on WFNZ yesterday, and I dropped the strawberry lobster reference. And he's like, "Is this something on Urban Dictionary that I don't want to know about?" I was like, "No. It's a dessert. It's a dessert."
That sounds like something that they only serve in like Vermont. Like
yeah. They were at Bahaba, as Jordan Hudson pointed out, and Bill just looks like an old man trying to enjoy some dessert and ice cream, man.
He's like, "Where's my Clams Casino? What is this?"
You got to see the pose.
Wait, is my dad ordering an appetizer all of a sudden? Clams Casino? That sounds very much like an order my dad would make. Mike Kaye, Charlotte Observer, covers the Carolina Panthers. You going to Green Bay?
No.
Wow.
No. We don't. So, from a beat writer, to give you a peek behind the curtain, there's literally nothing you can get out of being a beat writer. And
is it better for you? Is it better for you to be at the facility?
The combine.
Yeah, because we talk to the player 15 minutes after he's drafted anyway. You get to be there with the GM. I also get to, talk freely, which I tend to do, and make fun of other picks. So it's like, I've kind of got I'm kind of known like in draft rooms as having like a stand-up routine prepared for to get us through the day. I mean, it's a very grueling process.
No, I know it is. I don't envy that, but now I want to see the stand-up routine. So maybe next draft, if we can make it out there.
Maybe Alex Zutlow can record it for you.
Oh, that'd be great.
Young Z.
All right, man. Mike Kaye, Charlotte Observer. We appreciate it as always. Next OG Hat Vault, we're sending you something, so don't worry. We'll talk to you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I swear, man, the Panthers changes a man. Just ask Mike Kaye. Really does. A rowback polo might change your life.
Exasperated.
I know. Poor Mike. Sometimes we talk to our friends, and it's almost like, do you need a seat on the therapy couch? It's kind of what it is. It's kind of what it is. Just like a rowback polo might be life-changing. A completely different experience.
City of Oaks.
I'm wearing it tonight, right?
No, you are not. Ben texted me. He goes, "What are the chances that Ovies actually wears the polo?"
I'm wearing the polo tonight.
I said 0.0.
I'm wearing the polo tonight.
Wow.
I'm even going to throw a blazer over. I'm going to look fresh.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. I got
Nobody needs to see my man titties.
I got it.
Just saying. Although the pattern's good enough that it might just kind of cover those bad boys up.
Just don't eat salsa. I had a little salsa yesterday, and I was like, ooh.
Always a mistake. So go to rowback.com. Use the promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. If you have not used it yet, do it now for that City of Oaks polo. If you have used it, just create another email and get 20% off that amazing City of Oaks that I will be wearing tonight.
Well, I'll be ready. I have my OG custom zip, also part of the raffle, by the way.
So what you're saying is if I wear that City of Oaks tonight, I should not get 2 roosters and get Slavin Sunday all over me?
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Is that what you're saying?
You just got to be careful.
Okay, I'll be careful with it. Go visit our friends 2 Roosters at the game tonight. The Slavin Sunday is the best value in the arena.
Yeah, no doubt.
And if you don't make it to the game tonight, you are slowly running out of time or quickly running out of time on the carrot cake, the chocolate chip carrot cake.
Don't worry, I'll go get 2. I'll get 2 of the $100 ones because it's that good.
Fair enough. Last time you saw me wear a polo, it was a red State Farm polo.
You're right.
Because Matt Davis had one just for me when we did a remote out at State Farm out in Garner. That's Matt looking out for you.
Always.
And he's going to look out for you and your insurance needs. So contact Matt today, insuregarner.com, or call him directly at 919-779-8277. And of course, our friends at Hometown Realty, check them out online, myhtr.com. You see a lot of conversation about guaranteed cash offers. Sounds good on paper. You're really limiting the value of your home sale on that front. Home values here in the Triangle are through the roof. So take advantage of that. Contact our friends at Hometown Realty. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Hotline is John Forslund, play-by-play for the Kraken sensational as well. But John, hey, good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Must be a slow day. It must be,
No.
huh?
Not a
You guys
slow
going to
day.
take a hit for having me on here, or what's going to happen?
Absolutely not. We can do whatever the hell
Okay.
we want now, John. That's
Yeah,
what we
so
do.
can I. So that's good. Yeah,
That's the beauty of being your own boss. We just do what we want.
I know.
And I hit you up. I texted you because my guys at Nice Price found this in a box somewhere. The 1999 Stanley Cup Playoffs opening night in Greensboro. I thought it was just too appropriate. April 22nd, 1999. Today is April 22nd, 2005. And it's been a journey, John. It's been a journey. And
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, kind of like looking back to this program, where the Carolina Hurricanes were. There's an entire section here explaining hockey terms, which is just kind of where things were in 1999. There's a hockey quiz to fill in the blank if you're watching on YouTube. And now we're at the state with the Carolina Hurricanes, 7 playoff appearances in a row, and we're nitpicking a win, a 4-1 win over the New Jersey Devils. I call that growth, John, and as it relates to a hockey market here in Raleigh.
You're right, Joe. And thanks for having me. And, during the down years, which were very lengthy, we talked about a fan base that was getting a little bit apathetic towards the Hurricanes and how dangerous that was. And some of us said, there'll be a time when we'll be wondering how deep, and, if 3 rounds isn't enough. And that's basically where the team is right now. But you bring up all those terms and the glossary of terms with hockey. We're still doing that out in Seattle. So times haven't changed too much, but they have in many ways here. And as far as this team is concerned, they've got another legitimate chance. I'm not 100% sure they have everything together to make it all happen, but I thought that was last year. But I've been wrong many, many times. So we'll see what happens.
From a distance, obviously the Canes got a lot of run nationally.
Yeah.
With the original Mikko Rantanen trade and then the kind of salvage that they made, the second move that they made. What did you think of that whole thing and how people reacted nationally to it?
Yeah. Well, that's one of those things. It was one of those things, Joe, where it's one of those things where I remember where I was when it happened. That's how significant that trade was and how it shook the earth in the NHL. So I was having dinner with Eddie Olczyk in Bellevue night before a game, and I look at my phone and I'm like, Carolina just got Mikko Rantanen. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, they just got Mikko Rantanen. And then the pieces started to fall. And I was like, holy cow, they gave up Natchez and Drury to get him. They must have him signed. And there's got to be, relationship with Aho, and there has to be something built in here. It looks like a natural fit. They'll give him everything he needs and he's all set. And then everything else started to play into it, and we saw how it played out. I applaud them for doing it. I said it at the time. I applaud them for doing everything they do to be big, make news, be disruptors, do everything they do as a franchise, put the chip back on their shoulder again, which kind of fits what they'd like to do too. That's how they got to where they're at right now. That's part of the DNA of the Carolina Hurricanes and the fan base, I believe. That's a positive. But I shake my head as to how you do the deal without having a deal done, and to get out from underneath it is good. We'll see how it plays out moving forward. All we have now is the present. They've got some good pieces. Logan Stankoven is a very good hockey player. He has a bright future. He's a winner. He always has been. I covered him extensively last year in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. He performs in the playoffs. He performs all the time, but there's something about it. Like you guys know, there are athletes who do this at the next level when they get to the postseason and some that don't. So, good on them for doing that. But listen, Mikko Rantanen is a superstar player. What's happened here is everybody says, the heck with him. He didn't like us. He had the right to determine his fate. Sure. If he didn't want to be part of this, God love him. He's going to get one chance on July 1st, which he won't get now, but he did at the time, to call his own shot. Yeah. What athlete gets that opportunity at the highest level of money? Right? He was going to be the best free agent available. He was going to be the most highest paid player in the offseason if he got the UFA status. It didn't happen, but he's happy where he is. That's the way the cookie crumbles here.
It's interesting. I kind of put a lot of that why didn't everybody understand what was going on with Mikko Rantanen on the agent? I'm convinced to this day that the agent was like calling a bluff on a deal. Like, there's no way they're going to put this stuff together. There's no way Colorado will move on from us. The next thing you know, to your point, that's out of his hands at that point, and deals get done. I want to get back to the whole chip on the shoulder thing, because I brought this up after game one. I just feel like things are set up perfectly for the Carolina Hurricanes this year. I agree with you. Last year was this window. You made moves. You had a team. Go out there and do it. They didn't. Injury, not performing to a high level. Any number of reasons why. Goaltending. Any number of reasons why they didn't happen. I do feel, though, given that the East isn't exactly this just stacked conference right now, and given that attitude that, you buried us after Mikko. We had national guys saying, wrap up the franchise. Just shut it down after something like that. They got dudes that fit that Rod Brind'Amour mold, like Joe likes to joke. Why don't they make the whole team out of fourth liners the way Rod wants it? They seem to have an attitude that's right for this postseason, and they might surprise.
Well, I think they could surprise. I think they could go away too. So I think it's interesting, but they'll get through the first round. I think, man for man, they're better. They play better. Their team game's there. The team game will be pressed in a series, where they play something that's a little bit equal and maybe something that's a little bit heavier and something that's going to get to a game that forces them out of their comfort zone. So if you allow the Hurricanes to score first, it's pretty much lights out. If you allow them to score first at home, it's definitely lights out. If you allow them to swarm, skate, check hard, defend well, make it real difficult, you never have the puck. When they get the puck, it's going at the net. There's people going to the net. It's chaotic. This is how they play. And it's a demanding system that certainly works to a T in the regular season. But when teams have a chance to game plan against it for 2 weeks, it might be a little bit different, depending on the personnel and who can play that game. That's why when they get into a situation with a team, and they have in the past, like a Florida can play any way you want. Florida can play the skilled game. Florida can play a positional game. They can trap. They can check. They can force you into mistakes. They have an exceptional goaltender, and they play a heavy, gritty game, which I still don't see with the Hurricanes. I see a checking style. It's skating. It's a hard style to play against. I get that, and they work exceptionally hard. But when they're forced into a tooth and nail situation in the corners, when Sam Bennett takes a run early in the game at a Jacob Slavin and lays him out, what happens next? Those are the things that have yet to be determined in terms of them taking the next step. They do have a lot of pieces that fit the same, and Joe's exactly right. You could put the same identical pieces in play, give Roddy 12 forwards and 60 that believe, and get a save every once in a while, and you're going to win. This is a system that will work, and he's an exceptional coach because he's authentic. He gets a buy-in. The players want to play for him. But it's exhausting. It probably confused Mikko Rantanen at the beginning. He was probably like, well, this is a little different systematically. But I talked to Natchez 2 weeks ago. I had him on Amazon on a Monday night, and he told me he absolutely loves the system Colorado plays. I'm not a coach, and we're not. So we're not going to get into the X's and O's here and bore everybody. So who knows what the difference is between how Colorado plays and how Carolina plays. But there are differences in terms of how they defend and how they play as 5 men and all of that. And, maybe it's not for everybody. But Rod's got the right pieces now. And, it's plug and play. Eric Robinson, go down the list of people that come in here. They're equating Mark Jankowski to Wayne Gretzky when he first got here. So, these are things that he brings out in players because of their team philosophy.
I believe Luke DeCock referred to him as Marco Jankinen.
Yeah. That was brilliant. And that's not a surprise.
That's right.
You're triggering all kinds of responses from me in my own brain here, John. So bear with me here for a second. First of all, I almost cried. I was so happy last year when Mo got to put his name on the cup. What was your reaction?
I couldn't believe it.
Take that.
And we talked about it this year. So again, as you guys know, I worked this Prime Monday Night Hockey in Canada for Amazon. And so we had the Cup rematch on December 16th, Florida at Edmonton. And Mo and I had a long talk, and it was something that wasn't planned. It was after the scrum, and we kind of went into the Wayback Machine. He and I never in certain situations didn't see eye to eye. And we both have grown from that. He's a different guy than he was when he coached the Hurricanes, whether it be the first time around or 2.0. Different. I'm different. But anyway, I was really happy for him because he's dumped everything into a career where for 3/4 of his career, he was looked at as a guy that was probably in the wrong place, too young, not experienced, never played in the NHL. How's he going to motivate these guys? He's very stoic. He doesn't show enough emotion. We hear that the players love him. Is that really true? They don't win enough. And then he gets to this stage where now he's like a legend, right? And he is a legend. When you look at his wins and milestones, and now that he has his name on a cup, it's a really good story. But he's evolved a lot, and I've enjoyed watching that.
You spent a lot of time in that cinder block office in the old. And it was in the RBC, but that office, man, that thing was lifeless. God. I know. Even count the hours I was in there, let alone you. And there ain't nobody else around. So
no,
I when you said Florida, that made me think, because we had a great moment with Mo last year. I made him recreate a great exchange that we had back in the day of when he told me, "Don't even fucking start with me, Joe." And he's like, "I'm not gonna say that." And then all of a sudden he did it for like 5 minutes straight. It was unbelievable.
The poor communications person is like, what is happening right now? She had no idea.
She had no idea. But I have two more way back questions for you before actually Joe gets on the super way back machine. You mentioned Jacob Slavin. To see the rest of the world kind of discover him during the Four Nations Cup, what did you kind of think of his kind of come out, if you will?
I'm so tired of he's the most underrated defenseman in the NHL. I mean, how long doesn't that last? A couple of years for an athlete? Like, how long are you supposed to be the most underrated defenseman in the National Hockey League? And then this one too. Oh, he's an excellent defensive defenseman.
Yes.
Well, isn't that the freaking job? Like that's what you're supposed to do. If you want to measure him against Erik Karlsson with his 3 Norris trophies and the fact that player has never won the Stanley Cup, Jacob hasn't yet either, but I would take Jacob Slavin over Erik Karlsson like 8 days out of 7. Like it doesn't even make any sense to me. He's brought along various partners here and made them better. He's ending Brent Burns' career right now, who's extended it maybe 2 or 3 years beyond the shelf life, but good for him. Yeah. Dougie Hamilton played his best next to Jacob Slavin. I mean, you go right down the list. Tony DeAngelo played well with Jacob Slavin. So what are we missing here? And I know this, going back to my, history with this team, when he was younger, and he was matched up against a younger Connor McDavid in these cross-conference games, which only happened twice. He played well against Connor McDavid straight on because he can laterally skate just as well. He's a great athlete. That number's going upstairs someday. He's the best defenseman that's ever played for this team. He's one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. He should be in a Norris conversation all the time. I don't give a crap about the points. I really don't, because he does what he needs to do. He contributes offensively when he has to, but he does his job better than most defensemen in the league. And that trophy has become an offensive award for some reason.
The other person who's getting more national attention this year, and related to the Rantanen deal and some other ideas that he has, is Eric Tulsky. When he was hired before the 2014-15 season as a part-time analyst, do you remember that? And I know you're somebody who knows everybody, has interactions with everybody, but I am just kind of curious. But maybe about your first interactions with him, and maybe how he's kind of, maybe the team might be a little bit different under him than Don.
Yeah. So when we hired Eric, and Ron hired him, right? So Ron Francis hired Eric Tulsky. Mm-hmm. And even though, Ron gets put into some slots and typecasts and whatever, he was pretty progressive back then to realize that this guy could make a contribution to an organization. All we knew that he was a blogger, and he was, had these views on how to watch hockey and decipher statistics and all that. And then he comes in, and of course, it's evident in every sport. The old guard gets their back up. and I'm going to put myself in that same vein. Like, who is this? And what does he actually know? And you're crossing generations. So anyway, then he gets involved in the organization. Then you see what he can do. But very quiet and sedated at the beginning, he knew his place. As time has marched on, I've really enjoyed watching this. There's a couple people since I've left who have shown me exactly what they're made of, and he's one of them. Eric, from the very beginning, the first time I came back to the building, came to the booth to say hello, asked about my family. We've kept in touch. He's got a great family. He loves his job. He's totally committed to it. He's exceptional. He's a genius, right? He's a certifiable genius in many ways. But is he a hockey genius? He could be. I mean, he could be, and time will tell. To his credit, I think one thing maybe the fans don't know is he wanted to get around at the beginning of the year, travel with the team to get to know the other GMs personally.
Yeah.
Because this is a country club of guys, not in the sense it's a real, they're playing golf and at the pool. They do that, but it's a country club. It's a fraternity. Maybe that's a better word.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get inside the group to be able to make deals. You got to get inside the group to earn the respect. This is an individual that I think knows his place, and he knows where he's coming from, and he's really smart, and he knows he's got a rogue owner who's going to tell him what to do. And to me, that's the biggest trick for him, being as frank as I can be, is that Tom's got some great ideas, and Tom believes he's really smart, and obviously he's successful and is, but not everybody's right all the time, certainly in sports. And for this general manager, being able to kind of not do everything he wants, but enough, and listen to his coaches, and then the coaches have to listen to the information he brings to the table, and then govern people. It'll be interesting to watch. So far, so good. I think he's done really well. I'm sure that Tom was ahead of this Rantanen thing, and Tom was telling, make that deal. Mm-hmm. And then it was up to Eric then to kind of salvage the deal, right? And go to another organization, look at their information they have and say, hey, we're not getting Wyatt Johnston. That ain't happening. I heard that name, and there's no way they're giving up that player. But they may give us Logan Stankoven. Does he have any value to us? Of course he does. So that's the type of thing that he knows. They're in good hands here. I think so. And I think, Rod's the big piece, as we all know. And, you got to kind of manage two strong personalities in his seat, which is not easy.
Yeah, that was always the curiosity that I had with Don Waddell leaving the building. Because to your point, the country club nature of it, the fraternity nature of it. I mean, yeah. Don knew who to call, worked the system, right. All that kind of stuff. I mean, if anything, Tulski's been impressive just by the trial by fire he's already dealt with, right?
Right.
You gotta take over in a transition year after your supposed window had closed.
Yeah.
You got Mikko Rantanen thing you got to bring home. Then you got to undo it within 2 weeks' time, and then you got to negotiate visas, travel, and all sorts of other stuff with SKA to get Nikishin here. And I'll be curious to see when Nikishin actually shows up. The hype is off the charts when it comes to Nikishin, but we'll see when that actually plays.
I know. Well, right. And the thing about all of that is that when you're starting from the ground floor, it's not easy to make deals. So many, many years ago, when Rutherford was still here, I asked him about winning a trade, and he stopped me in my comment and said, "Yeah, you don't win a trade, John. You want the other guy to do well too, so that you can make another deal." So, it's cliche. It's a win-win for both teams, but he's got to have some street cred with the other general managers. And when you come in like he is from it'll be easier when Alex Steen takes over for Doug Armstrong because he's Alex Steen, and other GMs automatically are going to respect him because of his playing career. I'm not sure. And I think it's fair to say that the built-in respect is there for somebody like an Eric Tulski. So imagine walking into that boardroom, going to the GM meetings with all these guys who are inside jokes and golf buddies, and they go to St. Andrews and they play, they do all of these things together. And now here's Eric. He's earning his stripes. Yep. And I think I applaud him. I really enjoy watching everything they do.
So I was flipping through the 1999 program. I see a young John Forslund having just shown up.
Yeah.
You haven't aged, John. Let's be real.
Look at that. Holy cow.
Maybe
Wow.
maybe some gray in that.
What kind of outfit is that? That's interesting.
Well, it's funny.
Okay.
I texted this image to Trip Tracy, who, can you imagine in this day and age hiring, what was he, 22? When he took over?
Yeah, so the funny thing, and I just had Trip called me this morning to talk about the Devils game 2.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes turned into an hour. And
shocked.
We went through, and we talk a lot now, and we have throughout this whole thing, but even more than ever. But anyway, we're in Joe Louis Arena in 19. So we came here in 97. So 98.
Yeah.
Billy Gardner was the first color guy here. Billy left to go to Chicago. And Peter Carmanis comes to the booth, which he never did in Joe Louis Arena. And he said, think about hiring Trip, who I only knew from rookie camp. Okay. I only knew Trip Tracy from Hartford Whalers rookie camp. Mm-hmm. And the players all seemed to like him. And he had this great personality. But he was in the American League, in the ECHL, and that's all I knew. We're thinking about hiring Trip Tracy for your partner. What do you think of that? And I honestly said, not much. I said, I there's got to be somebody else with some experience. We need experience in this market we're going to. What are we going to do with this? So anyway, they hired Trip. I think he was 22, 23, whatever he was. And boy, he's done a remarkable job. He has, we know what he's been through. Yeah. I applaud him on all of that. But I told him 15 years ago, you got to be yourself and I'll be myself and we'll see where it goes. If you try to be Joe Broadcaster, it ain't going to work. I don't think it works for anybody. You got to be as authentic as possible in this business. Not easy. But he's done a great job. And now he's the lifeline of that aspect of the franchise. So good for him.
Yeah, he called himself, he was in his Johnny Cash all black era.
Well, he was in every era. Trust me. He had more eras than Taylor Swift.
John Forslund.
Well, I need to indulge a few things. One more theme for you.
Okay.
I got a fathers and sons for you. You ready?
Okay.
What's JT Brown like? Because his dad was pretty freaking good for NC State. He held a rushing record in this conference in the ACC for almost 40 years. So what has it been like working with JT?
He's been phenomenal. I mean, he is, first of all, I lobbied for us to get him when he was on waivers, like in 2017, 2018. Mm-hmm. I went in and I said, JT Brown is on waivers. We need to get this player because we needed some grit. We needed a little bit of fourth line, and I thought he'd be beautiful for the market here. I thought this, first of all, Chip Alexander might, he might retire on the spot, because he brings up, always shows the 23 and all this over at Carter Finley and all that. But anyway, JT is, I didn't know what to expect in the pandemic when they were thinking about the hire. We did a Zoom. He was playing in Sweden. And we did one period of Carolina at Tampa Bay, oddly enough, over Zoom. And he had never done anything like this, and he seemed to be a natural. And they brought him in, and then I said to him, JT, I don't know where we're going to go here. I'm 60. I'm older than that now. You're 30 something. You just retired. We need to be friends. I will help you. I will coach you. I will mentor you. I'll do whatever you want me to do. If you don't want any of this, I'm good with it. But I hope somehow we find a way to forge a friendship despite generational gaps and all that. And that's happened. So that's the one thing that I'm the most proud of, is that he is authentic. He's a great guy. He's got 2 beautiful children, great wife. And we talk a lot about his dad and his dad's playing days. And I really enjoy working with him. But touchdown Ted Brown, legitimate legend. Mm-hmm. And JT loves North Carolina. He loves North Carolina. He really does.
2 more. You ready? Every time I see them, it makes me think of the 02 Cup run. But Skylar Brindamore getting his first NHL goal.
Well, I cried. I might again, because my son trained with Skylar and a lot of the boys here. Skylar, when Johnny McLean was here, Kyle McLean was here, Matthew, my son, played with Riley Stillman at the Quebec Pee Wee tournament. The Laviolette boys, they all played in the same generation. There's player Josh Wilkins, who might be one of the best young players to be thoroughly trained here in Raleigh, still playing in the ECHL. So we went through a lot as parents, and Skylar I believe he's a 98. Matthew's a 97. Skylar might be a 99. I'm not sure. But anyway, Skylar was always behind Matthew in age group in terms of, U12, U14, U16 and all of that. But in the summertime, they all trained together with Colin Muldoon, who's still here and does a remarkable job with the kids and trying to build the program. But Matthew Forslund was on the very first Squirt AAA team that was a sacrificial lamb that was thrown out there to get beat 12-0 by CompuWare and Little Caesars and the Chicago Mission and all of these teams, and that's all they did. And he was a netminder. Maybe you guys know that or not.
No, I didn't realize. I knew he was a goalie. I did not realize that he got torched by CompuWare.
Yeah, he did. He actually stopped Connor McDavid in a penalty shot at the Chicago Nike Bauer tournament, but they lost the game 10-1.
It doesn't matter. It's like Jacob, my 13-year-old,
Yeah.
still will point out that, I won the face-off and got the assist on Brooks Brindamore in a spring league game when he was playing goalie, because Brooks wants to play goalie. So he still talks about that. So I totally agree.
Well, Matt doesn't talk much about it. I do most of the talking as usual, but I mean, he was able to train with these guys, and they took it seriously. It was an everyday thing in the summer. So I'm happy, to watch Skylar all these years. Roddy's invested a lot in helping him and training him and seeing that he would get an opportunity to play college hockey and get a chance at a dream. And now the dream came true the other night. And I happened to be back here, once my season ended in Seattle. I'm working the playoffs from home. So I happened to be back here. My wife and I were having dinner and the game was on. And where we were, they had the sound up. And so I got to see it. And, we both, it was a great moment, but it's a great moment for the hockey community and Roddy's family and good for Skylar, because he's scratched and clawed for everything he's had to attain, whether it be in the BCHL or at Quinnipiac and now his minor league career. Yeah.
I don't want to say we're old, John, but
we're old.
This is from your basement.
Oh, yes.
That's obviously me on the left. That's my son James with the Stanley Cup.
Oh man.
So he's a little bit smaller than the cup here. And
that party got out of control. There were more people here.
A little bit.
I mean,
that was now working for Hoist the Colors there, 247 Sports. So
wow.
Just a little grown up on us.
That's great, Joe.
Baby fat's all gone on him.
That's awesome.
Fathers and sons, John. Fathers and
sons. Yep.
John Forslund, we appreciate the time as always.
Thank you, boys.
We'll lock in again as the playoffs go on, but it was good to catch up. It's been a hot
it was great
since we've chatted, and we'll see you around.
Yeah, we'll see you guys too. Keep up the great work. I'm watching more than you know. I don't miss too many of these things.
We appreciate that, John.
Okay, take care.
We just took a hockey break with our friend John Forslund. Really good and fun to catch up with him.
Take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
You need to take a lunch break. May I suggest you go to the Smoky Hollow area, downtown Raleigh, just across from the Publix. There's a pop-up Happy and Hail, Joe.
$10. Are you kidding?
Super easy.
Med Bowl, Mexi Bowl, both delicious. Get yourself a seltzer with it too. $12 out the door, man.
Now, mind you, these are cold bowls.
No. They're warm now.
Oh, they're warm now?
Got them both. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I did not realize. So the Mexi Bowl with the salad and the rice, cold on a warm day, was fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So I might stick with that.
Because it's like a tomatillo vinaigrette.
Yes.
That was really delicious.
Really, really good. So, but now they'll warm them up. That's good to know.
Yep.
You're not near downtown Raleigh? No big deal. They've got locations across the triangle. And download the app. Use the promo code OG25 to save 25% off your first order.
Oh, yeah. We got one of those for the raffle as well.
Oh, the black card.
Yeah.
So that would be a very Duke-like, instead of Duke Forever, Happy and Hail Forever,
Yeah.
20% when
right.
you get
OG
one of those
forever.
cards. OG Forever. Just like the Butcher's Market, they've been with us from the jump. We thank them. You should go support them. You're looking for a quick tailgating
I was
option.
just say steak and cheese today before the 6 o'clock game. I'm there.
That would work too. You're looking to just tailgate because you got nothing to do this afternoon. Again, go to the Butcher's Market and get some stuff, and you'll be ready to go. Go to thebutchersmarkets.com. And of course, our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, check them out online at bugsbite.com. April's wrapping up, which means the deal is getting close to wrapping up.
$29 for your first mosquito service treatment from our friends at Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority. Hit them up at bugsbite.com. And I know you're thinking, Joe, it's not my first treatment, but mention this ad to them and they will honor that deal because that's how they roll. $29 for your first treatment.
All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. As always, we go to the OG Sports phone.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
Yes,
Curse or don't.
you got the shirt. We're gonna have to do a pop-up store for that, for sure.
Our guy Michael,
folks,
taking care of us.
Folks, thank you for putting this on my radar. Speaking of the OG Sports phone, it looks like ESPN has their own now.
Uh-oh.
The ESPN Chirp line.
Ooh.
Phones are now open. The official free hotline where fans can chirp all things NHL throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Attention NHL fans, it's Stanley Cup playoff season, and you know what that means. Time to talk some trash. Call the ESPN Chirp line, the official hotline where hockey fans can air their grievances, express their fandom, and chirp, 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 chirp. Did your friends stop listening to your annoying rants months ago? The Chirp line is for you.
You're not a goalie, you're a sieve. Hey, buddy, I hope you catch a wicked sunburn down in Florida. The only thing worse than one Kachuk is two of them.
If you can say it, you can chirp it.
Hey, Ovi, how much for a lock of your beard? I'll send you the money right now.
Easy there. Whatever you want, the Chirp line is here for it. Chirp an arrival, yap about a trade, wax poetic about your heroes.
Win this series, and I'm naming my firstborn after you. My husband doesn't have to know.
Call 1-844-4-CHIRPIN. That's 1-844-424-4774. Don't delay. Your chirp may be featured by ESPN. Call now. Kids, please get your parent permission before calling. Even if you're a cool hockey kid with stick flow. Even cool hockey kids with stick flow need permission to call cool hockey hotlines.
If only.
Man, I gotta hand it to ESPN, dude. Just like revolutionizing sports television.
Never would have come up with that.
By taking phone calls from people
after games.
Real smart, fellas.
Why didn't we wait a second?
Wait a minute. Let's go to a 336, shall we?
What's up, guys? Greensboro checking in here. I know this is mostly a triangle ACC podcast with the occasional Giglio's Deeks talk, and I love it. I appreciate listening to the insider scoop from all those schools and what's going on in the triangle. But hearing the caller a couple pods ago talk about, are we going to talk about Bill Belichick all summer? And yeah, that's entertaining, but maybe something I'd be interested in, that given the news today that happened to the UCLA-Tennessee trade that involved App State's old quarterback. With this transfer portal in the summer, how are schools, like, we have this massive subculture in North Carolina between ECU, which is coming off a bowl win over NC State. You got ECU, you got App State, and you got Charlotte, who are all FBS teams playing in the bowl world. I just read that App State had over 30 transfers in the spring. I mean, how do schools, like, what are y'all's takes on, like, how are schools like that not surviving, but, like, what's their move moving forward? You know, what space are they going in other than, I guess, Giglio's league that's going to happen in 10 years? Because they're all fighting for spaces too. I mean, are they just plucking off D2 JUCO guys and NC State bounce backs where even though ECU beat NC State, I mean, it's like those schools clearly have more money to do what they want. So I'd be curious to hear from some beat writers from those schools or some guys that are on the beat of ECU, App State, App State losing that quarterback, or Charlotte even. What are they doing? What are their plans? I don't know who their beat guys are, but I would love to hear from any of the three, along with the Bill Belichick content. Anyway, even though it's a Triangle Show, I'm here in Greensboro checking in. Love you guys. Appreciate you all, everything y'all do.
Yeah, it's funny. Appreciate the call, and thanks to Nature's Relief for sponsoring the OG Sports Phone. That's something that ESPN doesn't have. So check out Nature's Relief hempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. I know you're shaking your head about the chirp line, aren't you?
Don't give him any more ideas.
I know. Anyway, so what's funny about that call, we appreciate the calls, that Joe and I were actually talking about that this morning. Typically about once or twice a week, you and I do our, we don't call it a meeting. We're just kind of like, so what about this? It's very Seinfeld-esque, another Seinfeld reference. Like, have you thought about this? Mm-hmm. Have you ever wondered why? ... Right. And one of the things that I had brought up is once we kind of get out of the hockey season and we kind of start looking into things in May and June, it's time to check in with the new Wake Forest head coach. It's time to check in with the new App State coach. It's time to check in at ECU and those types of things. I think that's one thing that I'm kind of transitioning myself in this podcast format as we now hit year two wraps up.
I was going to say we're in year 3. So
we're about to enter into year 3. Yeah. Happy few days away from our fire anniversary. But as we enter year 3, finding different ways to approach these things. And that's one of those things, right? It's talking about things when you feel like it's the appropriate time to talk about it rather than trying to jam a topic down somebody's throat because, we got to fill 3 hours of radio today, right? How are we going to do it? It's like pinky in the brain. What's your plan today?
Same as yesterday.
Talk about Shedeur Sanders. So those are the things that we can explore once we get into what we like to call summer off-season protocols.
Sure, we ain't there.
Not yet.
Still got the Canes.
Not yet. We got the Canes, dude. We're all good. Anyway, appreciate y'all listening. We'll see you tonight for Game 2, Jersey Devils, Carolina Hurricanes. After dark. We haven't even had an after dark yet. Game 3 was
it won't be one tonight.
Game 1 was afternoon.
Sun will say 8:30.
It's after dusk.
No, before 8:30.
After dusk. It's not even dark yet. This time of the year.
It will be tonight.
Anyway, we'll see you tonight.